a nation. You know what I mean? A lot of them doing it.
Opposed to marching up and down the place. But our people, our people are where they're at. So, this is just what we got to deal with.
Yeah. I wanted to quick comment before I forget about the white supremacy thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I always find that our people that consider themselves black talk about white supremacy, and I made a common sense quickie about this that doesn't make any sense. We all know about affirmations and speaking stuff and spelling and so on and so forth, and speaking stuff into existence. If our people, certain people in our community or whatever, our people think that they're black, and they talk about white supremacy, and they're saying that the so-called white person is their enemy, they're constantly saying that their enemy is supreme. So by constantly saying that, your enemy, y'all keep saying that your enemy is supreme, by constantly saying that, you'll never get from being underneath that supremacy, because you're saying that they're better than you every single time you say that.
So what's the language of terrorists?
Huh?
What terrorists?
No, there shouldn't be any type of white or black anything.
Because real and truly, the status, when they're saying, real and truly, they're saying, our people actually saying that white supremacists, that means they're saying they are supreme, but they don't. Because we are the white.
But that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm saying. See, for me, I don't even play the white black thing at all. Even on the status thing, I don't even talk about that stuff, because I know it confuses a whole bunch of people because they want to be confused. When it was explained to me, I got it right away. And as soon as I found out about Moors, black just
disappeared.
With regards to our people, just disappeared. It was just automatically Asiatic and European for me.
That's
that easy.
That's it.
So that's why I can't comprehend why some of our people can't make that switch in their mind. Like, it blows my mind. But I guess some people it's different. Fine. But if that's the case, and that white and black thing is still color coded for you in skin tones, from the time you say white supremacy, and even thinking that, you are saying that the person that you consider to be your enemy is supreme.
Yep.
And is better. So you are constantly putting yourself in that subordinate position, inferior position, and you'll never get out of it, because you keep thinking that, and you keep saying it.
And then the other side to that, with the whole white supremacy, is that the people who are saying the people who are saying white is supreme are really the white people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if they're not calling themselves white, if they're saying I'm black, and then they're gonna say black supremacy, they're really talking about pale supremacy, because black means pale.
Yeah.
When they say black power, they're really talking about pale power, because black means pale. Right? Which isn't them, because they're not pale. So what is that doing in the ethers?
That's right. That's serious, now, brother.
What are you putting in the ethers? If you say black power, the top of your lungs, you got the megaphone, black power, black power, but black means pale, you're actually giving them all your power that you're complaining about, that they're abusing in white supremacy. It's a crazy paradox. If you're a thinker, it's a very I don't know what the word is. Whatever.
It's a pretzel.
Paradox.
It's a pretzel.
It's a pretzel paradox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's no in or out. It just exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like Sheldon said, as soon as I found out that I'm not black, hold on a second, I'm brown. Why am I calling myself black? Immediately. Hold on a second, I'm brown. Why have I been calling myself black this whole time? I'm not black, I'm brown. Hold on a second. How the hell am I going around talking about black this and black that or whatever when I'm brown. And never ever once have I said brown, whatever I'm claiming, under black. Never, ever, ever. These people got some sorcery on our people. It's real. The sorcery and the witchcraft and stuff like that is real shit. That is not just some coffee table conversation about some Baphomet or whatever. These people have sorcery on them, or they got demons on them or something. Because there's no way that you can't get these concepts. It's real simple. I see the things going up, the bubbles going up. Catch those.
Yeah. All right. So then I'll play them because Brother Icon seems to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what Kujo said the other day. Yeah, it's what you said still, GS. You get me? Stockholm syndrome. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just listening to you speak as I'm sending this message now, and yeah, she ain't gonna give up her shit for, you know what I mean? Because like, it's like when you're in the Matrix, but you're not gassed up by what's in the Matrix. Like, you're just in it because that's the circumstances, and you know better. So you're trying to weigh up your chess moves so you can find the right time to step to the next square. And you know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, you know, but yeah, it's the Stockholm syndrome shit, man. Like what you said, innit? Most of our people, because in actuality, we're supposed to be on something. You know, fuck this whole shit. We coming together and we telling everybody how the fuck this thing's gonna go now. Because we're tired and we have picnic for raise, and we got elders to look after, and you understand? Went in there in a dead status and went to a corporation. Went to Walmart, asking Walmart for reparations. Again, because people want some reassurance or some type of shit, or like some acknowledgement. Like, we ain't trying to get no acknowledgement. It's about, like the Prophet said, enforce the Constitution. But when you understand that, like, the Constitution applies to self as well. Like, you know what I mean? We're the law and the governors. You know what I mean? Law enforcers. So it's about time everybody get on the same page, have clarity, mathematical understanding, critical thinking, and yeah, like, we're telling people how some shit's gonna go.
Yeah, and practice makes perfect. Every effort to change the narrative, every effort, you know, to bring about awareness, these conversations, everything, all the more. This is activity. This is active. Do you get what I mean? This is active. We might not get it, you know, how no one ain't done it before. It hasn't been done before. This ain't been done. We're doing something new. We really are. Do you get what I mean? Because since this shit has happened, we ain't risen above back. So we are the ones to do it. We are the trendsetters. Do you get me? We're making big history right now, and we're making it wrong. Do you know what I mean? I rushed ahead and done all kinds of stuff in court and all these things. Showed that's not the way. Do you get what I mean? But the fire's burning hotter than ever. Do you get what I mean? I know I say that a lot, but yeah.
We get what you mean.
Rise up, everyone, man.
We get what you mean. But you know what, though? To your point, Invoking, is that, okay, you rushed into stuff and then you went to court and stuff, right? At least, okay, you rushed and you did that, no problem. At least you learned from it, though. So you gained wisdom from it. So there's that side of it too, with you deciding to do that on your own. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a bad thing either.
Because as we were saying, you know, some people, you give them the bicycle to ride and they cuss the bike and say, no, I'm not going to ride it because it's this and the bike is that and it's a white supremacist bike, I'm not riding it. But when you actually go on the bike and you ride it, you might jump and they think, why did you jump? But you probably jump 2-3 times. But as you said, it's being active because you have to get in your head, okay, here's information. Instead of beating it down, let me try it. You might not get it right. You might get knocked back for the first. But you get up and you go again. So I'm glad you bring that in, Brother Sean. That's what it's all about. At least try, and that's what everybody...
But we'll say, we'll even put this out there. Before even trying it, prove it wrong.
Yeah.
That too.
Prove it wrong and then try it. Because if you prove it wrong and you find out that it's right, well, the next thing is, if I find out, well, a hammer is supposed to be used for nails instead of trying to kill flies with it, and you realize, oh, yeah, you're not supposed to use this to kill the flies. You're supposed to use this to hit nail heads. You're gonna start using it for that.
Yeah.
Because you know its function.
You tried it and you see it work for that purpose. Yes. Yes.
But you would only do that if you have the knowledge of it first. Ain't nobody going on YouTube, pull on a recipe, get all the stuff for the recipe, put it on the counter, and then turn around and turn back and the pot's bubbling.
Yeah.
I get this message, Brother Kojo.
Yeah.
Well said, Brother Mackenzie. Straight up fact. I enjoy the stereo. I enjoy the topic so far. Keep on building. Keep listening. Peace and love.
That the other people are descended from slave masters, you're still speaking that into that you're a slave because you descended from slaves, or they are slave masters because they descended from slave masters. It's the same thing. Every which way they're being tricked into saying this shit.
That's a Empress.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point too. And then that forms a contradiction as well, right? You're kings and you're kings and queens, but then you're descendants of slaves, and then you're a black person, and then there's white supremacy. Like there's all this contradiction in everything that you're saying that nothing technically could change really.
Exactly, Cujo. But we know the saying, man. Black people don't read. Because if they was to read, they would know what the fuck black means. So clearly that they don't know what black means, and then they're mad at you, bro, because you're trying to tell them. Now you can see my hand waving in front of your eyes, right? Also, your eyes do work. Those two eyeballs in the front of your head work. Okay, you're just open to that page, and you see, just look down there, black. Now read that. You might go straight to the end. No. What's that in the brackets? Adjective. Oh, okay. So before we read that, let's flip back. Let's go to A, B. Alphabetical order. Let's go to A. Look up the word adjective, and we know that it describes a noun. So black people don't read, because if they did, they would know what black means and what it doesn't.
Peace, Brother Ash.
Islamos, I got a simple question. Why we don't start call it Modern European or a Nicene Constantine Politan Creed Germany instead of call it by non-factual, just fictional thing. Yes. Why the unconscious people more, those who are branded with all these misnomers, the Asiatics, not knowing this, why we don't call it
Is our brother saying that we could call the Europeans a different name to their name? Is that what he's saying? Like we to call them by the species what they are, instead of calling them European? Is that what he's saying? I think. Should I play that again? I didn't kind of.
Yeah, because I was confused as well. I didn't really get what he meant.
Let me play it back again.
Islamos, I got a simple question. Why we don't start European or a Nicene Constantine Politan Creed Germany instead of just call it by non-fictional. I mean non-factual, just fictional thing. Yes.
Oh.
Why the
Did you get that, brother?
I think so. I think he's saying, why would we call why don't we call modern Europeans, he said Germany, but I think he means Germans, because...
Hegemony, he said something about hegemony or something like that. I think it was some ancient name he was saying. Edomites or Hegemonites or something like that.
Oh, okay, so then I misunderstood, because I thought he said Germany or something.
Listen again.
Now let's play the other one. You probably put it in the other one.
A simple question: why we don't start call it modern European or a Nicene Constantine Politan Creed Germany instead of just call it by non-fictional? I mean non-factual, just fictional thing.
Don't know if you got that.
Nah.
Yeah, play the other ones.
Did you get that?
The other ones might be him because I didn't. I think what he's saying is basically that what they're.
Part of the injection. I mean, what I want to what the message was is like why we don't start to call it modern European Germany or Nicene Politan Creed Germany instead of calling it white supremacy and all these adjectives and non-fictional.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought he was saying.
And all these.
But you got that, yeah?
Yeah. Basically that the actions that they're doing is what it is. So if we're saying that they're the slave master, them ruling over us is slave mastery, not white supremacy. Okay. Them murdering our people in the street is slave mastery, not white supremacy, because there's no such thing as white supremacy. So why don't you just call it what it is? They're murdering you in the street. Call it by what it is, opposed to calling it by the fiction, which in the case that he's talking about, white supremacy is the fiction, because that's not what they're doing. They're murdering you in the street. They're kidnapping your children. If we talk about the so-called blacks that go to service every Sunday, those people who are going to service, they're under Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed. That's not Christianity. Christianity is a fiction. So I think the point he's making is our people recognizing what it is that the thing is that's happening to them and call it that. Don't make up a name for it and say that it's something to appease your ignorance. Or to justify this slave-minded position that you want to take, so you're going to call it something so that when you talk, it sounds like you're deserving of what you're making requests for, when you're not, because you're in error.
It's just like, I would say, somebody chop your head off, and then they put the word to say, no, I didn't chop it off, I just take your head off and put it beside you to make it sound good.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
So let's get this message. Look at some bubbles here. Rise up to our brother Adam. Peace and love to you, brother. Peace and love to Islam.
Yo, listen, man. These people ain't confused. These people ain't being dragged through the mud to call themselves black. Alright? We're not going to sit here on this platform and act like this is something that's just happening. Alright? This has been happening. And these people, our people, have been not really thinking about anything else. They don't really know anything else. So, I mean, what do we expect? Like I told people, it has to be something big that they can see. Not because they need to read or they should read, but because it needs to be something visual. What people understand is visually people are dying. visually I'm going to have some type of consequences I'm going to land up to, and I don't really know how to deal with that. And the people who do know how to deal with that might not be in such a big group, nor am I around them. So, I mean, I'm not saying give them time. I'm just saying make it hard as hell so they understand it's hard as hell. Oh, I definitely get what he's saying. Call them by their real name, not by their business name. I get it.
Rise up, man, Adam. That's it. Spot on. Rise up, man. Broken voices. Peace and love to you, man. Let's get this one in.
It's slave mastery, but in a court of law, you would call it genocide.
Right.
Get me? Terrorism.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Arbitrary deprivation of our nationality.
Exactly.
You know? Of our birthrights. Sorry, arbitrary deprivation of our rights, you know, our nationality. It's big, you know. Yeah, it's all about perspective, you know. And it's true. What are we all doing this for? Some people are doing it because it's not really from the heart. It's more coming from the head. A lot of people are leading with their head and not their heart, and that is not the way. Your head is supposed to be is to surrender to your heart. Do you get what I mean? Obviously, in moderation, but yeah. Right.
Rise up, ma, invoking voice. And ma, I want to say to you, because you know we continue this, you know, to spread the prophetic words, because that's what we are here for, you know, to rise, fall in humanity. And I was talking to Brother Cujo, and as I say, you're a Taurus too. Definitely, you're domiciled near the UK. I would love you to join me on the platform again, you know, because for you to be near the UK and, you know, even talking to our people, they're not going to have this thing about America and them boy of America, At least you can be here and kind of enforcing what we're trying to say. But, you know, we get into our people, you know, we get into them slowly. So definitely something I want you to think about, man. You could join me on the Wednesday show with Brother Cujo. And if you could get another man there, it'd be good. So just to balance out everything with our people. We give thanks, peace and love to you. And America's the country.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, actually, that's a very good, precise point. Very clear and specific. That's a very clear, not mixed message when you call it out for what it actually is, instead of using connotative linguistics to try and like intellectually articulate what you're trying to say that it is. When that's the whole game that they've played. They hope that you don't articulate it exact to what it actually is.
Exactly.
So you can call them out on it, and more so that you don't have a bunch of people with you that can do the same.
So, and that's the thing with Brother Kudo now, because he doesn't miss his word, because we kind of train to like, it's like somebody's doing something grievous and harm and terrible to you, terrorizing you, but they want you to talk to them nice. Why are you doing this to me? Please stop doing this to me. You know, they kind of train us to be like that, to say things for what it not is, so it sounds better, and then you won't react to it because you're not getting that terrible sound, so it sounds okay, it sounds comfortable, so you just sit there and take it, you know. So people have to know that they first need to raffle, and that's definitely Brother Kojo. He doesn't really, he says things for what it is, he doesn't really try to find other words to make it sound nice, and sometimes when people receive it like it's an attack, but it's the facts, it's the truth. So we give that. Brother Kojo, do you want to shine in on something there?
Oh no, you can play those because the numbers are going up, yo. Once those numbers get past 10, you're in trouble.
Please.
Write down, Cujo. This is what I exactly meant. This is what I was exactly want to put out there. It was just one of my points. Why we don't call it master slavery? Well, I don't agree to call them masters. They are just modern colonial masters, you know. But they using the social-political system officially known as Nicene Politan Creed, or the modern European hegemony.
Right.
You know. All right. That's it. I'm listening. I enjoy the show. All right. Peace and love, Moors.
Peace and love.
Peace.
That's a good one. I love it. I love the analogy. I love it. Yeah. It's a good one, brother. Well, peace and love to the whole entire Moorish nation.
The whole entire nation.
When I say in moderation, I mean some people's heart chakras are out of sync and off balance, or they're overactive. And so it really just comes down to self. Who are you? Fuck anything outside. Do you get what I mean? Yesterday I had a beautiful, beautiful call with matriarchs. Like, all these women are proper, like, in tune with doing the work. They're doing the work, you know, and they're willing to make the sacrifices. And really, in life, there ain't no sacrifices. The only sacrifice is the ignorance that people willfully choose. Do you get me? Because when you make a sacrifice that is in tune with divine law, it's a sacrifice for your ego. It's the ego death. It's the ego sacrifice. So really, it's not a sacrifice because it adds up and it will be more than one could ever really know. But what I'm saying is, focus on self. Who's leading? Who's imagining? Who is speaking to you? Because there are many voices. We have many, many voices. And they might all sound like your voice. Do you know what I mean? But there is a quiet voice. Spirit doesn't need to shout. And when spirit shouts, that's when it's proper dire. Do you get what I mean? So, listen, quiet self, man. It's summer solstice in a couple days. You get me? Get that energy. Get out in nature. Really, turn off your phone for like a day. Do your best not to say much for at least one day a week. Just a day where you barely say anything. That will truly change the mindsets for the better. You will hear what you need to, what's for you, what's leading you in the right direction. Our life should be full of beautiful synchronicities.
Peace, man. Peace. Beautiful, beautiful.
I ain't gonna lie, that one hit different when she said terrorism. Oh shit, that one hit. Yo, could we call it terrorism? I mean, cause they're a foreign entity who came over here and just killed shit, right? I mean, that goes together.
It definitely does.
I was thinking about. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was thinking about something too about the brother about talking about going back to Africa and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's this concept that all of our people got snatched up from Africa and brought to the New World or wherever, right?
Yeah.
But Europeans came in. But the thing is, Europeans had to work with local so-called Africans for that to happen.
Yep.
Because no European that does not know the terrain is going to come into a foreign environment and just kidnap people that don't know the terrain. Yeah. They don't know how to maneuver the animals. They don't know how to maneuver any of that stuff. And we're talking about a continent.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about, if that dude was talking about, going back to Africa and all that stuff, then you need to find out all those African leaders that played their part in selling these local Africans into slavery to the European. If that's your perspective on how all Asiatics then left, or all Africans left the continent and got to all these other places, you have to find all those leaders and the descendants of those leaders that allowed that to happen before you can talk about everybody going back to the continent.
Yeah.
Okay?
So with that, I could tell you we have this conversation with them. Their take on it is that these Europeans came among us in Africa for thousands of years and studies and went back to their king. Because we had this conversation, they said they went back to their different kings and said, okay, that kingdom has 500 guards, they got a high-end age, so they basically took documents and then they came back and attacked. So that need to go because they spent thousands of years among studying us to launch their attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? Okay, I hear that. But the reason why that doesn't really make much sense is because these nations, these African nations, number one, outside of the whole heat and the sun being more strong there, outside of all that, just the basic stuff. If they're going into these certain areas with X amount of people, first of all, Europe today has 500 million people in it. That's what they say. And that's not 500 million Europeans. That's 500 million people. And you're talking about at a time where there was a lot less Europeans on the planet. They're going into a terrain and they're meeting and they're learning people and so on and so forth. Fine and dandy. But the thing is, these African nations that had a lot of different peoples have allies around the areas. So these, like, just in common sense thinking, in my opinion anyways,
There had to be something.
they had to be working with other nations, man, because you can't come in and there's like Brother Icon, your neighbor is your ally, and you have like 5 neighbors around you that are your allies.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to tell me that a European, and let's just deal with one person pretty much. We're talking about one person, right? So you and 5 other people, so that's 6 people. Those are your allies. One European now comes and they befriend you, and they befriend or whatever your 5 allies, and then they go back and they decide, okay, we're gonna come back and we're gonna teeth you. Right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to tell me that those 5 allies don't know that that's going to happen, and if they didn't know that's going to happen, they're not going to recognize something is off.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. Those allies had to been in on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also too, to put it in because like the brother was saying, they want the visual, right? Look at it from the perspective of the same scenario that Sheldon's coming with, and the European coming and throwing the net over one guy. Do you think the 4 other ones are just gonna stand there and not do anything? If they don't, they're down with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they do nothing? Why would a European come throw a net over a guy and be dragging him through the jungle or whatever, right, to get back to the boat, right? And then you're telling me that these people aren't dealing with pythons and black widow spiders and whatever else that might be in the jungle?
Exactly.
You tell
That's
me
what I'm
these
saying.
people
They don't know the terrain like that.
Yeah. They don't even know where the quicksand. They don't even know where the quicksand is.
Even if they go there for years, like the amount of different like animals and so on and stuff that they would have to study the migration and all that. Like, come on, man. But I know it seems that there's all these messages popping up, so I guess you got to get to those.
Peace everyone on the platform. Rise up. Welcome to this message down. Rise up, Brother Ash.
Yeah, I will call it fraud as well because they want to misclassify you, like, you know what I mean? And then get you to agree to the misclassification, and then it's like the blood's not on their hands again when it is. But now they've just passed the hot potato to you because you're claiming to use the linguistics that they wanted you to use that removes them from having liability, you know? So, yeah, man. Yeah, slave mastery. Yeah, I like that one.
And quick, Brother Ash, just want to bring modern time quick. I know that that's a message. Just like the COVID vaccine, they told you they're not forcing you to take it, but they want to take it to take it. And if you take it, then there's no they make sure made a law that you can't sue them for it. And they tell that you can't sue them for it, but they're not saying you must take it, but if you want to take it, take it. But they try to encourage you to take it. So if anything happened to you, you can't say, well, I was the one that forced it in your hands. You went and push your hand and take it. So you're definitely showing the modern time with the COVID situation, brother. So you're so right to that. Please.
Instead of gravitating to a Stockholm syndrome, why not gravitate to taking stock of oneself? As more is more, not less. More for life.
Rise up, day more.
That's why we have to appreciate as well. Like, as I'm thinking about it, like, well, not even that I'm thinking about it, because I've been saying it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, this is why we appreciate people like Cujo that cuss people's ass out. You know what I mean? Because it's that whole. Again, if we're talking about we understand more science, we should understand the zodiac. And most people that have paid attention to Cujo should know by now that he's a Taurus. I don't know the rest of his chart or not, but I'm familiar with Taurus energy. My dad's got Taurus in his chart. My step-pops, may he rest in peace, was a Taurus. My sister is a Taurus. I'm familiar. I got loads of Taurus friends. You know what I mean? Greasy, very precise. They talk raw, straightforward. They ain't with the shit. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what it is. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, we speak just raw, blunt truth and affect the ethers. Power of AU, power of authority.
Thank you for the invite. Yeah, of course. What show, what dates, what are the times? Get at me on the other social medias, because I even, everyone on here, if you message me at Invoking Voices on Instagram, so I've got, so I can send you the link. I'm gonna set something up just to talk off the actual social media.
Rise up mind, broken voice. So definitely look you up on an instance in your message. But yeah, beautiful to balance of the conversation. Because you know, how they are on the galaxy already. We can see what they're trying to do for people. I can see they're doing from loving it for years. But we just need to bring the message home to them, how they need to do it. And, you know, it's kind of get that level. But definitely look forward to having you on the show. Peace and love to you, man.
If Cujo's fucking words was a mere stealing, how much blood clot head would I roar around the road? Blood would have covered the fucking place where the thing says one big Moroccan flag covering the land.
Straight. No traitors.
When I was in the indoctrination camp many years ago, they taught us that the so-called Caribbean now was actually the American not the Caribbean.
Rise up, Demo. But it's very noisy, so we really can't hear message clearly. But peace and love to you, brother.
Which would mean we're Americans.
Straight.
Yes.
Exactly, Sheldon. Find all those nation leaders or whoever the fuck, you know what I mean, they're talking about. Because remember, they're always quick to talk about it was the Moors that sold out the blacks, but then you just said it. It must have been those Moors that sold out these people that now call themselves black that are Moors. You know, but ain't it funny how they always want to claim that, but they never want to claim the pyramids that they built in America that are like 25,000 years plus. They just want to jump straight to the shit when, you know, some cave people came out the cave, came up all through Africa, you know, bearing them time, they ain't got no skin tan lotion. You know what I mean? So, you know, but anyway, so they're just chaining up people, putting them on boats and carrying them across some waters that are very vicious, that could rip apart wooden boats, because they ain't have no Navy SEAL boats or no boats like no ships or nothing like that. But you know, when Hollywood becomes a reality, I guess, isn't it? So,
For real.
And we could go into detail with all of that stuff with, you know, hurricane season. Like, you know, brother Icon, you know, you're from Jamaica, right? So you know hurricane season, when hurricane season is and all that. So you're trying to tell me the Europeans knew when hurricane season was?
Yeah.
And you're traveling by boat for 3 months. For 3 months.
Yeah.
At least 3 months. And what months are you traveling? How do you know when hurricane season is when you're from Europe?
And don't forget on the ocean. And don't forget on the ocean, you definitely need sunscreen.
Yeah, exactly, because that sun is bouncing off. The sun is bouncing off the water, and it's coming up from on top and underneath.
That's a good one. The sunscreen one, they should be mad at that. They should automatically, yeah. How they survive bringing black guys through the jungle in Africa to a boat across Atlantic Ocean, wide open, sun just beaming down on you at 12 noon, 9 a.m., 6 p.m., doesn't matter. You're getting sun. You're getting it. And these people don't have no suntan lotion. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, it is.
Exactly, Sheldon. Like 500 million people in Europe, not 500 million people, Europeans as they look today anyway, right? But check this. how the fuck are they gonna feel so brave trying to take anybody? Like back then, we know what our ancestors were on. We know that our ancestors, everyone's hyped up over nowadays mixed martial arts. Like our ancestors were doing mixed martial arts, like double mixed martial arts. You know?
Triple.
So it was definitely, you was getting limbed up, like limbs separated, head taken off. Like you was crocodile food. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, our people, man, they put these narratives on a pedestal because they really don't view themselves as coming from anything excellent.
They don't know any better.
Like, and it sickens me, man. From a child, like, it sickens me.
So don't be sick. At least know you know. At least know you know. You're not them. You're not the zombie. Once you know you're not the zombie, that's all good. We can try to get through these 6 so we can get it to 0.
Exactly, Icon Bay. You get me? Because people too blood clot fast. You told everyone to go to the clinic and jab them off with things that you weren't there. When your mom's cooking in the kitchen, you know, because you might walk in the kitchen. Even sometimes if you're in the kitchen when she's cooking, you might, you know what I mean? No, but you weren't there when they was in the laboratory making up their shit. So,
rise up, Brother Ash. Peace. Rise of the Empress Larina, always giving some gems. Definitely check out our show. This Empress got some beautiful content on our show. Definitely check out our show. Peace and love to you, man.
So I have to agree with Shelvin on this, and my sister and I, we talk about this a lot on my show, about when people are asking about reparations. I always ask the question, well, what about the African nations that participated in, the front part of the transatlantic slave trade, meaning the kingdoms and the empires that traded with the Europeans and traded with the Arabs? Because it's a known fact that slavery in and of itself predates the transatlantic slave trade. But the question comes into play when black people, and these are the people whose mind is in the dead state, are wanting to seek reparations from these white entities. Why do they never include any of the African entities that participated in it as well?
Yeah, it's a contradiction.
Right.
It's a supreme contradiction, and it shows the folly. It exposes the folly. And then that's why they lose, because they don't call them out. That's why when they go to do reparation stuff, they always lose. Because they're not calling out all the parties, because they're going to have to call out their self as well. And you can't call out yourself. You can't say, oh, I want reparations for people being in slavery when you put people in slavery too. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
When you paying out.
And then I know there's 6 messages, but I just want to add to this really, really quick. Now, if we're talking about slavery starting in the 1600s or whatever like that, right? The transatlantic slave trade, as they try to say it starting in Now, if you consider, and they say Moors this and Moors that, they say the majority of the slaves came from Western Africa, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, in the 1600s, which nations were in Western Africa? You had the Mali Empire, which was Muslim, which is technically Moors. You had the Almoravid dynasty, which is technically Moors. You had the Almoravids, the Mali, what was the other one? The Almoravids, what was the other one, Cujo? The Almoravids, the Almohads, I think it was Almohad dynasty. I think that's what it is. Almohad dynasty, Almoravids, the Mali, that was all Western Africa. So if the slaves that they took were from Western Africa, then technically the slaves that they took were Moors, because you all keep saying that Moors are Muslim. So what you gonna say now? So even on that aspect, if you could claim to be slaves from Africa, you're still more. If you're saying that Moors are only Muslim, technically, originally you're Moors, unless you want to go past beyond that before or whatever. But so, you know what I'm saying? Like the argument starts to get convoluted and stuff like that. So I mean, right?
Yeah, you'll be saying, Brother Sheldon.
Right.
Let's get this next
and then what was it? Benin, Africa, which converted to to Christian X amount of years ago, they came out and apologized for their role in slavery.
Yeah.
The Benin Empire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it.
Let's get this one going on. Peace and love.
To my knowledge, Ghana is the only African nation who has publicly apologized for their participation in the transatlantic slave trade, and they have said they will welcome back the descendants of the enslaved people, not slaves, enslaved people, because they didn't start off as slaves, but the descendants of the enslaved people can come back to Ghana if they want to, and they can set up. Now, interestingly enough, Ghana has set up these segregated territories for these individuals. So you probably can't just go to Ghana and set up wherever you want to go. Like, there are specific places for these people to come back to, and whatever the case may be. But I bring up Ghana because, to my knowledge, they are the only African nation to have done that. And it benefits them economically, right? I feel like none of these nations do anything out of the goodness of their heart. Everything is about money.
Thank you, Ma. Just I would add that in because I've looked into the Ghana situation and you are exactly right. If you look how much money Ghana made in the year of return, when they did that open, they made millions. And the sad thing about it is, when you even go there and they say to come home, they don't give you citizenship straight away. You're restricted on the things that you can do into Ghana, and you have to be there for X amount of years and go through this. The same system like you come to any other country and you get your visa and you have to go through this. It's the same type of thing. You have to get married to a Ghanaian nationals and all that shit. So it's not straightforward. It's definitely capitalism again in making money for our people, because I've definitely done the knowledge of that. But thanks for bringing that to the forum, Empress. Peace and love to you. You want to shine on something, Brother Pujo?
Well, just to add with regard to the whole slave idea, that remember about the Slave Compensation Act and
Pass.
the Slave Compensation Act, where even the masters got reparations
Yes.
because their slaves got destroyed or killed or whatever. When they said all the slaves are free, the slave masters sued and they won. And an act was passed to make sure that they get compensated.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was up until 2018 from slavery was so-called slavery was demolished, that Jamaica finished paying back Britain for that.
Right.
Up until 2018, they just finished off paying that money. I can't remember how much billions it equated to.
Right. That should have stayed home.
Jamaica used to have the highest currency in the Caribbean at one point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they got bankrupt by the World Bank.
Bankrupt. Immediately. As soon as they did the contract, they became nothing. And then all the other idiots, islands, followed suit. Now they have nothing. Now Germans own the beach, and you can't go on the beach and fish because German owns the resort in some island that they're a foreigner there. And then the people aren't getting anything. They're taking all that finance and shipping it back to Europe.
That's right.
You see how they get their reparations? raping you.
Messages like all
Yeah.
And again, the Caucasians, you could look back in history in the 1100s, they was just finding out how to use string and wire, rope, and learning how to wield metal and glasses. So, I think not.
Exactly.
It's not more part of the interjection right now. I have a simple question. Are you familiar with the Andanga man of the quote unquote African kings, the South Asia sort, which is contemporarily called West Africa, that part. These Andanga men, they got LDPD out,
Yep.
that's all I wanted to share at the moment. So that's all.
That's a lot more.
Peace and love, Moss.
Peace and love, elder. Peace and love, brother.
And national time.
Raw is just rossing up their skin, blood. Just yamming up their skin, bro. Crazy, like, yeah, man, it's madness still, bro.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. We was the most grittiest. It's not so. I am proud, but I'm not proud. Like, I'm proud of the warrior spirit. Do you get me? No fucks given. But at the same time, obviously, at a point we became unruly and, stopped honoring divine law as it should be. There's a lot. I just read a post that said, I think the divide really comes from our men and our women. If we can get that, just us amongst ourselves, if we can unify that, it doesn't matter what anything else is saying. Do you know what I mean? I'm so not focused on them and their shit. They're like babies. Like, not even babies, but spoiled brats. Or not even spoiled brats. Because like we said, the Stockholm Syndrome, do you know what I mean? So it's like, that awkwardness that we feel that they should feel. They don't feel it. So why are we trying to get them to feel it? Do you get what I mean? Fuck that. They know they should. If we're doing what we should be doing, they'll have no choice but to do what they must do. They need to stand up and own their shit. Do you get what I mean? Their shit stink. Well, because in answer to Sis's statement and question, I think it's because the names, again, we're reading these histories and we're imagining these pale faces, we're imagining these Caucasians in these places of power, when actually they were dark faces. Do you get what I mean? The whole script is all, been scrambled out, and that's why everyone's all discombobulated. But if that's explained from the get-go, this is why the black thing is so imperative, that this is why we push it, because once you get that, you just understand everything. It makes sense. You understand it all, overstand it even. Do you get what I mean? Things are more simpler. Even if there's stuff going over your head, you will understand it more, because you're not caught up on the black issue, and then you're imagining people who are supposed to be on the other side. It's all opposite.
That's the spell breaker. Yep.
The Mali Empire was Moorish, and it actually was all of the encompassing. It was all of North, East, and West Africa. It took up everywhere, So yeah, and obviously Abu Bakr II. And Mansa Musa would have never been there if Abu Bakr stayed in Africa and didn't go to America.
Well, good point, Mark. Good point.
Yes, sir, the got him.
Got it.
So, Sheldon, I have a question on your verbiage on the Sahel region at the time during the 1600s. The Sahel region is still, for all intents and purposes, still a thing in modern time. It's just that the region has been broken up more into different countries or whatever. But for those African countries in the Sahel region and those empires and things like that, when you say that the people were taken, were they really taken as in the people ruling those empires did not know? As if someone had no knowledge? Or can we concede to some extent that the empires were complicit?
Right, Sheldon,
Just remember to answer that. Let's get all these out the way.
all this
Yeah, okay.
rise up to brother Inspire. Right, welcome to the platform. Welcome to the show. Peace and love to you, brother.
I may be wrong on this, and I'm open for correction, but, she was talking about we should receive reparations from the people who sold us into slavery. I beg to differ on that, because to me, I was thinking, for whoever owns you, the one that owns you and uses you and controls you, right? After the many years of you investing into helping them build their stuff, reparation is just basically them compensating you for the many years that you actually did what you did for free.
That's how I always looked at it. I didn't care about who sold us into slavery. It's the ones who actually took us into slavery and did what they did while they used us to help them build this empire. That's how I look at it, reparations. But anyway, I'm not even for reparations at all. You know, I think the opportunity, they're not going to give it to us. If they was, they'd have been did it, right? We all know that. We keep crying and complaining about reparations. Not all of us, but most of us. Yeah, I'm not with it. But the Ghana situation, everything, it's all business. It's all business, you know what I'm saying? It's not because they love us so much. They don't even know us to love us so much. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem with that. Matter of fact, I got a friend of mine that had dual citizenship, you know? And, you know, a good friend of mine that's like my sister lives in Nigeria, you know, and she's from Birmingham, Alabama. Nobody's doing it because we're in love with the country or vice versa, or the country's in love with us, but the opportunity for us to be able to get there and become citizens and be able to buy property and have land and be able to build over there as well as over here. That's what it's all about. It's a business transaction. So I'm not expecting for them to do it out of the kindness of their heart, but they are giving us an opportunity to be able to have a foothold in the continent we know today as Africa and be able to build over there and have our land and have land that you actually own, not land that they say that you own, but they're really taxing you. And if you stop paying your taxes, they take it.
And just, I know there's a lot, just a quick comment, and this is why we're saying, if you keep talking about going back to Africa, why don't you just go? Because there's a lot of our people talking about, oh, we need to go back to Africa, we need to go back to Africa, and they're saying that for 30 years, 20 years, and they're at the U.S. Just go then. Instead of talking about it, just go.
And at the UK too. Don't forget the UK ones too.
Yeah, and at the UK, right? If you keep talking about it, just go. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
That's well crazy, Sheldon. You know what? They probably was in that white status.
Let's get back to Empress Lab.
So, Cujo, it's interesting that you bring up the Emancipation Proclamation. I did a solo show on this, speak about it all the time. A lot of black people do not understand the history of the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln was not a benevolent white man freeing anybody that wasn't a white man. The Emancipation Proclamation was a strategic war move. And so, yes, when those slave owners sued, you know, or they wanted compensation for their emancipated slaves, it was not a thing of anything about the people. This was all about business. This was all about money. This was about destroying the Confederate economy. And so this is why I continuously say to black people, y'all got to think deeper than what you're thinking. But I also understand sight and vision are two different things. Reading and comprehension.
And one quick statement too, that Abraham Lincoln was a brother. He wasn't modern European. That's why they put him on the penny. Because he was copper colored. He was brown skinned.
Yep.
So he wasn't a European. That's why they assassinated him.
Gems.
Because he wasn't, people are looking at it like he's a European, so he's working for them. No, he was one of us. He was a spook at the door.
Yep.
And then you're going to ask the question, well, how come he didn't get put in slavery? If he's a black guy, then how come the black guy signed the Emancipation Proclamation? That would mean that the black guys were the ones who were the slaves, right? Were the slave masters. The black guys were the slave masters. There was no European slave masters. That came later.
That's gonna twist your minds, though.
That's a twister. That's a twister. That's a pretzel. That's a pretzel. That's a pretzel right there.
Another show. Another show.
Reading and comprehension are not the same thing. So, though I may say these things to people, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? Here in the United States, you have people black people divided over whether Juneteenth being a federal holiday is a good thing or a detrimental thing to the cause or to the people or to whatever.
Yeah, because they're
But
black.
you don't even know the history of the Civil War or the Emancipation Proclamation, and that this shit had nothing to do with you to begin with. It had nothing to do with your alleged ancestors. It had nothing to do with any of that.
It had everything to do with us because that was us. We were Congress. We were the Continental Congress. It wasn't some Europeans. We were the ones whose White House that was and Senate building. The White House was limestone, just like Kemet, because that was our stuff. Benjamin Banneker designed Washington, D.C. He's a Bay. How come they didn't lynch him? How come he wasn't a slave? How come they hate niggers, but a nigger built Washington, D.C.? Designed it and built it.
You know what there are people going to say to that, Brother Kuja? Can I tell you if I'm now? If I bring some galaxy. You want to hear?
No, it doesn't matter what they say because what I just said is the truth. It's not my opinion.
I know the truth, but no.
Yeah, that's not my opinion. If they have a problem with it, they should go challenge the Senate building and the Congress and the Library of Congress that has fezzes, men with fezzes all around the building. Men with fezzes and turbans in stone around the building. And then tell me about they don't recognize who the Moors are.
Yeah. So with that, Brother Kuja, they're going to say, that's why they're going to say the Moor is sold us out, because he was a Moor and he was siding with the white supremacists.
No, how is he siding with them? The question is, how come they weren't like him? Why were they on a plantation? Why weren't they free? How come he wasn't on a plantation? Because he's working with the white man? The white man doesn't have any power. What do you mean? It was our government. All around the world. Parliament. That was black guy stuff. Blackamoor's stuff. Queen's Castle. That's a Blackamoor castle. That's not a European castle. Do your research on who built the castle that the Queen's in right now in the UK, in Britain. And then ask yourself, what? Just do your research on that.
So, Brother Kujo, going forward, we're going to go to the mess, but I think on Galaxy, they're not ready for nationality yet. They need some history lessons. Yeah, so I think that's where we need to go. And then when they get this up, dots, then they will say, okay, all right.
Yeah. Because that might be the angle.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so one thing I'd say is there was also the Arab Amazigh, spelled Amazigh, and they were the free men of the Moors, the free men. So that's one thing. Obviously, the fact that we're classified as black, it all ties into legality and law, maritime and admiral law rather than the laws of the land. How you define yourself is incredibly important. So yeah, I 100% agree with a lot of what's been said today. In regards to the compensation scheme, it was 300 billion that was paid up to 2015 to the slave owners as loss of property. And you can find articles 2015 about that if you just type in.
Thank you, Ma. Yeah, thank you for that information. Definitely, it's all right. Yeah, I know it's somewhere 2015, 2018, yeah, but give thanks for clarifying that. Peace and love to you, Empress Shopaka. Now let's take this one from Empress Renee.
So the Empress on the platform and everyone listening, everyone giving their interjections. My sis in wicked voices, I love you so much. Everything you're saying, I resonate with and I agree with. But my sis, please remember, this is going to be aired on the radio next week, so we need to keep everything we say clean. Peace and love, always.
I got a lot of editing to do with this one, Empress Renee, right? It's the energy and the vibration, We're kind of fed up with that's going on. I hear what you're saying, though, man. Give thanks for that.
I realized I rambled. There was a post that I read that said that women, basically how they lost their, their divinity and start to fall is when they allowed themselves to be tortured by the colonizer in front of her sons instead of allowing her son to defend her and protect her. Do you get me? Because that's his job. Do you get me? He's willing to die for us, and I feel that's still the case. Even I do it in my own intimate lives, men, males, whether they're blood or not, wanting to do good things, and it's just like, I don't know, some built-in thing. They say, no, I'm alright, when really I needed that. Do you get me? I'm learning to change that, but it's a big thing that our women have, and I'm just saying, even speaking about them and their paperwork, I just don't feel like that's it. I think we're missing something really deep, and it comes from the heart. It comes from something different as to why our people are the ignorance. It's something so deeper. It's all about mother and son. Yeah.
Peace, man. Very good reply to Evoking Voices for the reply you was giving to the other sister, and it makes me think about when Icon Bay had Cujo L on the show, and I think the guy's name was Kilimanjaro, and he was trying to speak to him in a language where he was saying, this is the language of the Moors, and he's saying, well, I don't speak that language, I speak English, and you understand me in English, so let's articulate there, and then if we need to, so that there's clarity, let's go to the mathematical root meaning of the words that we're using and what they mean, right? So, is there a colour of law? But every time that Cujo's trying to say to these people that, like on the radio, that was going at him, we can't call ourselves black because the very people that you're complaining about use English legally and try to bend it into law, but there is actually a law that governs colour. There is no colour of law. It's not law. Like, it's masqueraded as law. Because law is self, and self is a nation of people, a nation of selves, a nation of people, and the people make the law of the land, hence birthright and inheritance. So you can't come with colour and use it as law. You can only use what law is, nature, like natural law. Like, you can only use law for what law is, and not more so use it. Law will govern you, hence all law, Allah. You know what I'm saying? So, and Allah is inside self. So, yeah. Like, of course their shit stinks. Yeah, I hear that, Inspire. But check this though. You see how I keep sending so many messages. I'm a chill in a second. But yeah, man. Like Cujo was trying to point out the other day when he was on the radio with Icon Bay, how in that week or whatever, someone's car got towed. There was a group of Moors out in California, and their car got towed, and it was towed by the police. They went up there, had the right dialect with them, spoke the right jurisdiction and so forth, right words, and they had to release the car. That is reparation. So when Cujo said earlier about why don't everybody at the UK put their credit together, and then when they go to the government, whoever, the Treasury of Finance, the UK, whoever, and they put together the right paperwork, they're going to tell them, yo, you need to offset that. You guys sort that shit out. Just go. But they're not going to do that as black. Even as I'm sending this third part of the message, I also need to remember as well, I just heard a piece of what you said, that we can't be buying no land. If we're going to play that as a chess move to buy the land that's within the system so that we can acquire something, some type of attachment to our possession. But then it's always going to boil down to what status is that title in, or how is that attachment to whatever that possession is. Like, what's the operator behind that? And it's always going to be the standing at law, like, to denote whether these people feel that they have the right to talk to you, or they're just going to know within themselves that they don't, and just back the fuck up. no man's an island, and a nation ain't a one person. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. But yeah, I'ma chill now. Icon Bay, Cujo L, Brother Sheldon. Yo, man, I hope you guys do this regular, man. This is, yeah.
And the only way, I think, instead of reparations, being a freeman on the land, so then you actually can own land, so you actually can buy land, and it's not taxed off someone else. This legal fiction issue is enslaving most of the world, and that's the issue, really.
Brother, you're 100% right. I mean, if you don't talk about it, if you want to go to, if you're talking about going to Africa, just go, man. The execution is worship, bro. Implementation is where it's at. We need to be more action oriented, and you know what I'm saying, than we are verbally expressed. Because I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. I mean, they come over here. Listen, I'm in transportation, and I have a chance to collaborate with a lot of Kenyans and a lot of people. It's a lot of Africans from different countries that are over here in the transportation industry, more so specifically semi-tractor trailers, starting businesses, doing everything. They'll drive 9 months out the year, and then they'll go back for the other 3 months, you know what I'm saying? Take all the money they make here and go back to it. Listen, if you're going to do something, I mean, even if you get a dual citizenship, but don't just talk about it. Go ahead and take action, you know what I'm saying? We do a little bit too much talking over here in America.
And the UK too, brother.
Long, brother Branch Kuja, sound like this. Peace and love to the Moorish nation worldwide. I'm listening. I'm still enjoying the show, so continue this comfortable conversation with some. Though I still vibe with it. I'm all in it. More life matters for life, even on the solar plane as well.
Yeah, but everybody loves roundtable talk with Jada Pinkett, and Jada Pinkett and her daughter sat down with Jane Elliott, and Jane Elliott told everyone that Abraham Lincoln was from is it the Pamunkey tribe? I can't remember, one of those tribes. But when you go into the history of that tribe, I think it's even something that you said in one of your old videos as well, that when you go into that tribe, like they've got proclamations acknowledging that their heritage is Moorish. So, and Benjamin Banneker built the Big Ben here at the UK, right next to Parliament.
Yep.
Just over there in Vauxhall.
Yep.
And Benjamin Banneker built the Big Ben here at the UK, right next to Parliament. Just over there in Vauxhall.
And Ben Bay has a fez in George Washington's Memorial Museum. So if Ben Bay has a clock next to Parliament where these niggers are going to go march and tell these people about give them something, you think these Europeans aren't laughing at them? You think Europeans not laughing at them? Europeans laughing at them all the way to the bank.
Cujo, you preaching to the choir at this point, right? Benjamin Banneker, yes. When they talk about all of the things that Benjamin Banneker was, this man wrote the almanac. He studied the stars. He went up there and designed and was the architect of Washington, D.C. All of these different things that this black man did.
He wasn't black.
He was not an enslaved person, which debunks the narrative that every alleged black person on Turtle Island
They
was
weren't black, and there's no such thing as Turtle Island.
Every alleged black person that came here on a boat was enslaved.
Nobody came here on a boat.
That is not true.
Nobody
It
came around.
debunks the story that people need to go back to Africa. Not every mislabeled black person is of African descent.
Exactly.
Some of our ancestors were already here.
Exactly.
So why would you leave if this is the land of your ancestors and go to Africa?
And
A lot of things.
and if you know all that, why are you still calling people black? Stop calling people black. Nobody's black. Every message you're talking about black people. There's no such thing as black people. So let's stop calling our people black, because you're not going to get out of the mess until you stop calling our people black. And our people are going to keep being in the mess if we, who are supposed to be the conscious ones who know ourselves or whatever, keep calling them black. That's the hex.
Rise up, Brother Sheldon, and Brother Kujo, and she must rise up the Empress. She said allegedly black. She said.
No, don't. There's no allegedly anything. They're not black. Stop calling them black. Because we know better. So we should be doing better since we know better. We can't meet them where they are, call them black and all that stuff. That's not solving the problem. That's why the problem still exists. Because it's a hex. But if the people are going to say that they're black, fine. Then we're going to call you nigger and negro. Because,
and just to add to,
like,
go ahead, Kujo.
No, go ahead, Mark, go ahead. And there's four right now, so keep an eye on that.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah,
just to add to what Kujo was saying, you know, when I started learning about this stuff, people were talking about Kemet. I didn't know what it was, but just through listening, I figured out that Kemet was Egypt. Nobody told me that. Nobody, you know, as simple as that. Nobody spoon-fed me to tell me that, oh, Kemet is Egypt. No, you just listen and you find out what's what. You know? And then to answer the Empress's question about, I was saying, like, in terms of people being taken or whatever, I was saying allegedly, if that's people's narrative of, you know, people were taken from Western Africa or whatever, all that region was at that time was Muslim or Muslim, if you want to say. That whole region. So even on that aspect, if you want to deny the Moorish thing, right? If you consider that all Moors were dealing with Muslim and religion, then technically you were a Moor when you were taken and brought to the Americas. So that's what I was saying. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying if that's the mentality of some of our people. Oh, and
Exactly involved.
Yeah, just one more thing about Brother Ayo was commenting on Kilimanjaro, talking about the language and all that stuff, and what language did the Moors speak. When I was listening to that, because I wasn't on that live, I was listening to the recording. That to me is that argument or that question or whatever is so irrelevant. It's so nonsensical. Like, what does that matter? If you have a Chinese person, and we always go back to China for some odd reason, but if you have a Chinese person that moves to the United States or moves to Canada and they grow up speaking English, does that not make them Chinese? So, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, some of these arguments just don't make any sense to me at all.
Yep. So it is.
If you have a Chinese person and you move them to Zimbabwe and they speak the local language there, does that not make them Chinese still? Are they still not Chinese or what?
So
anyways,
that means the Jamaican Chinese, I mean Jamaica, them are Jamaican, then them are Chinese.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because exactly.
Exactly.
Because they're speaking patois and all that, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, invoking voices. Like, the thing that we're missing is, like Todd said one time, we need to reject Rome from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
My apologies then, I'm just tuning in now, sorry for being late. My Empress, I wasn't getting that, even if the Empress have been doing it too. But yes, everyone, please remember, this is going on the radio, so clean voice notes only. Peace and love.
Islam, me again. About the interjection. I have another question. Have you ever heard of the Moorish king of Europe, known as Yusuf Ibrahim, and in the reconstruction of the history, he was renamed as Prince William of Orange. There's also wood carving of him, and it's from the 1850s, if I'm correct. All right. There's something
Islam.
to get it.
Yep, that history lesson.
On the Africa source in the U.
Affirm, rise up to our elder dear, rise up to our elder. Salam El. Brother, I have gone into that knowledge, me and Empress Renee, and I'm realizing that most of the paper that's officiated, they definitely call that Prince William of Orange. When it comes to the transition within the laws of the UK and some of the acts and the statutes that came in and put our people into the slavery, I'm seeing who is this William, and seeing this House of Orange. And I was really wondering, but it makes sense. So because they changed his name, that's why I couldn't track it back to him. So thank you so much for that information. Beautiful. I'm going to look into that and present that information also. Peace and love. Beautiful, beautiful.
And again, my brother, I come back. I get what you're saying about the people, you know, but the people are ready for nationality. And if they're not, then that's for them business. Anyone who's about it is about it. Do you get what I mean? The Prophet said nationality is the order of the day. That's the order of the day. The day for history class, that's in one's own time. The time that we're sharing is all about nationality. Do you know what I mean? People should be doing the history classes and be catching the notes every week. Should be taking notes. When people are talking, it's not about watering it down. We can't just say that it's not time for watering it down and then tell them we're going to water it down. We've been watering it down. There's a plethora of information out there, you know? And then they would just have to find information that's relative to what's being spoken about. You get me? Nationality is the order still.
I agree with you, man. Peace and love. Peace and love to you.
So, Cujo, the reason why I call people black is because not everyone has the mindset of something other than black. Some people are in a dead state, and so I call them what they are. I'm not going to call somebody something that they're not. So if you got people that are acting niggerish, I'ma call you a nigga. Ain't that what everybody else doing? My thing is this. Yes, I may know what somebody has the potential to be, but I'm not calling you your potential. I'm calling you what you are. So if you're black, you're black. If you're a nigga, you're a nigga. If you something other than that and you demonstrate that you're more than that, then I'll call you that. But the people that I'm referring to people that are in a dead state. On all of my shows, I make it abundantly clear that I use the term black very loosely.
Shouldn't
But
be using the
I do
period.
know who I'm referring to. Those in a dead state.
Yo, I just want to think. She's probably
quickly. Grand Cheek, Cujo L. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You can't say shit about them because you call people dumb nigga, yeah?
Yeah, I know I do that.
Yeah, so the more is right. So I hear what she's saying and I overstand. So yeah, that's something that we have to just work out, and who's hearing it should overstand and just take the message and change the status as all. So I'm not even gonna say nothing on that, to be quite honest. If they're acting like that, you call them dead, seriously. So peace and love. Let's get back to the message.
But calling somebody nigger means ignorant person. Black means pale. The people aren't pale, so you can't call them black, and it's not the same thing. Because nigger means ignorant person.
So what if they call themselves black? What if they call themselves
They're not black. Black means pale.
You know,
are they pale?
Okay, but
no. Are they pale?
They're not pale.
All right. So we shouldn't call them black because they're not pale. That's all I'm saying. But they are ignorant. If they're calling themselves black, they are ignorant. So call them nigger. Or call them a dirty Moor, like Noble Drew Ali said.
Alright, brother Pujo, yeah? I'm going to show you something. You know the brother that called you on the show from Gambia?
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, I would call him, he would say mixed race because he's got coolie hair on his hair. He got very, very light skin. And you remember that he said to you, I'm a black nigger. I'm a black man. I'm in Africa right now. I'm a black man, yeah?
Yeah.
And I know his complexion is far from black, right? He's got a beautiful empress. She's got a YouTube show that she do, Sister Shani show. You should check her out too. She's really one of those warriors in the community. Obviously, she's in the wrong jurisdiction, but she's doing what she's doing for her people so much. So they've been in Gambia for the last 6 months. But I'm just showing you sometime when we get to our people.
So they've been in Gambia for what? Are they Gambian or are they black?
For the culture.
No, I'm asking you. Are they? Which one do they claim? Which one do they claim? Do they claim the nationality or do they claim the slave brand? That's what I want to know. If they moved over there, did they go through the process to be Gambian or they just posing over there as if they're that? That's my question to them.
When the brother called you on the phone, what did he say? What did he tell you?
No, I don't care what he says. If he says he's from Gambia, then either he went through the process to be Gambian or he's a nigger over there fronting like he's Gambian.
So let me ask you a question, Brother Kuja. I said to you, they live in the UK. They've been in Gambia for 6 months. They travel to the mother country a lot, yeah? But I'm saying, on the phone call, remember when you asked him, what did he, no, you didn't ask him, what did he say that he was?
Yeah, he said he's a black man.
Yes.
All right.
So that's what they're riding with then. Kuja.
No, but they can't ride with that because black means pale. And he's not pale. He's Asiatic.
Yeah. And I just want to add something real quick.
Yeah, go on, brother.
When I said, when I commented before that the Empress there, that it's probably Taurus, like I was just joking. I don't know if she's Taurus or not, but I'm just joking because Tauruses speak with a lot of force like Cujo does. That's why I said that. Well, hopefully she's not mad or anything for me saying that. It was a joke. Yeah.
And then the numbers are going back up again,
I
so...
wish people would say they're an Amati more. Consider yourself an Amati more and you consider yourself a free man. That's important. You don't want to be called a blackamoor. So state what kind of Moor you are. Amati means, just feel like amazing, but it means freeman. You want to be an Amati. That's my opinion, not forcing you to do anything. I'm just saying look up the word and figure out what kind of Moor you want to define yourself as. Because there's many Moors. There's black Moors, white Moors. We want to stay away from that. Don't fall back into the trap. But Amazi or Amaji, you know, very old word.
Rise up, Empress of Baka. Can I just quickly answer that interjection? And I'm talking to everyone on the platform. If you're not a Moor or you're doing this show talking about Moors, Moors know who we are. We don't need anybody to come and tell us who we are for the last time. It's just as if you're going to a Christian or a Jew and tell him that he needs to add that onto it. We just said we are Moors because it causes less confusion. We don't ride with the name Black or Moor. That's what they call us. Okay, so to make it simple, we're just Moors. Who want to say they're white Moors or who want to say they're black Moors, that's on them, but we just say we are Moors. Okay, Empress, so going forward and ensure you're doing kindly on the platform, that's what we are, just Moors. And most of the time, any question you have about Moors, don't tell us, but you ask us because you get a better response that way. You know, because this is what I don't like when people talking about Moors. Stop telling us what you think or what you read in a book. Actually ask us a question, and that's the best way we can go forward. So I just want to spread that message out here. But peace and love to you, Empress. Okay, let's get into the messages.
This is my last bubble, guys. I know you guys want to round up at 4 o'clock, and there's probably still some more before this one. But yeah, man, great show. I appreciate you guys. Keep blazing the fire. But lastly, for all the other listeners, you could go on the Library of Congress's website and type in Magna Carta, see what comes up, the correlation between the United States and the Magna Carta. That should open up your eyes to a few things that you hear all the Moors like Cujo and Sheldon and even Icon Bay and a few other Moors talking about. But also, women, like, study up the thing, man. Study up yourself and realize this thing starts with you because it's you that register your offspring to these state governors for them to do all this shit. And you know, that are behind these education boards. So be mindful of the men that you let spit inside you, man, and bring life here. You know, they need to be men that are gonna be peace. Everyone have a good Sabbath. One.
When Rome invaded Jerusalem, the Hebrews, our people, went into different parts of Africa, which they called back then Negro land. That's where they took our ancestors from, those different parts of Africa. If you Google Negro land, that was a map that the Europeans created to show where to snatch the Africans from. So, which our people were the Hebrews that migrated onto different parts of Africa. So the Moors came after all of that.
No, sorry. Hebrews come from ancient Canaanites. Israelites come from Canaanites. Hebrews is language, and Canaanites were before Israelites. So forget all that stuff about your Hebrew, Israelite, whatever. And then the Moorish Jews of Harlem were Hebrew Israelites, and they called themselves Moors. So if the Moorish Jews who had a temple in Harlem called themselves Moors, then no Hebrew Israelite today could tell me that they're not Moors, but they're Hebrew Israelites and they're Hebrews and all this, except they're not Moors. Stop this. Good,
And then my question would be, if this place was called Negro Land or whatever, that must have come after the 1500s. Because prior to that, if you look up the etymology of Negro, it goes back to the 1500s as a Portuguese word. So if you're talking about, you know, ancient Hebrews and Canaanites being taken out of the land and they called it Negro land and stuff like that, you're talking
modern
about before. Yeah, you're talking about before, pretty much before Christ. But then you're saying Negro land, which is 1500s.
You're retroactivating Negro.
Right.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's a fraud.
African Americans are the descendants of Shem, the descendants of Jacob.
No, they're not. The 12 tribes is the zodiac. The 12 tribes isn't some tribes of black guys all over the planet, and then one of the tribes it doesn't look like us, and that's our enemy. That's BS. The 12 tribes is the zodiac. And all the names of people in the Bible are metaphysical names. It's allegory. Has nothing to do with people. So there's no descendants of Shem and all that. Look up Shem, and just go on, since you want to use Google, go on Google right now and look up the metaphysical meaning of Shem. And it's going to tell you what it means as far as the definition of it, and then it's going to tell you the metaphysical meaning. And the metaphysical meaning supersedes the definition. You can play the rest.
Oh yeah, Islam. Yeah, this is actually my last one. So what you guys said about doing a history class on the radio, I think that would be dope. Like, especially for those in the UK. Cujo, they ain't got a choice but to get what you're saying at that point, because there ain't nobody coming at you. You ain't gonna take no phone calls and none of that stuff from everybody. You do what you always been doing, and those that appreciate you, that's been following you, you know what I mean? Just keep that same vibe, that same everything. Because I've learned loads from your old videos. Do you know what I mean? I've watched so many of your old videos, went back to your old videos even when you was putting out new videos. But what I wanted to say was, when you go live and do the history class on the radio in segments, like, you know, a couple, however often you're going to do it, also make it known that you know, you're live on the YouTube stream at the same time, so they can see like the books that you're posting up and so on and so forth. If you get what I'm saying. Islam, peace.
Thank you, Brother Ash. And Brother Pujo, I'm glad, because Brother Ash is a little warrior like us. I know he's one of them warriors, and he's a lion, and you get what I'm saying. Because we know all the UK people stay, and that's what I'm saying. You know, so sometimes I'm talking to you, and I get you, Brother Coach, and I know you really want to spread knowledge about people, but you have to find a way to feed them. And that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the whole thing now, because right now everybody's got their back up about you. So, you know what, let's not even bother go into this. I just think, as the brother saying, just shut the phone line down. But the fucking Jew over there, we just do what we need to do, spread the message, go live on the thing, and then who probably want to go on peep and say, let's see what this idiot is saying. And when they watch it and they go and do all the research now, they can say, oh shit, he's right, he's right.
But that's the reason, that's the whole point of why, we do Q&A. Because if you really want to go watch some stuff, we have 3,000 videos on our YouTube channel. Go watch all the videos that you want on history. You'll be up there for 5 years watching stuff back to back to back to back. 3,000 videos just dealing with this content. So that's why we say we don't do just sit there and lecture to people, because nothing gets solved. They have to bring their questions. But what they have to do is recognize that when they're calling into stuff, you ask your question. You're not calling in to give your opinion or your point or your perspective, because we don't care. Ask your question and get out the line for the person behind you to ask their question.
Yeah. So we could do after the show, just say present what we're presenting to them, and then open the phone. I think we'll go forward that way. And I mean, half an hour.
Or you find out from them what they want presented. If they don't want to ask questions, what do they want presented? Because
I know what they want, because I'm telling you what it is.
You know what I mean?
That's why what I actually tell you in the history class, because what it is here, they are not convinced about this Morocco, which we know the Morocco they think is Morocco just is not your old mother. So you have to take them back. It's like old Brother Sheldon can tell them to go and look in the British Museum, and they can see. You have to tell them about Britain to tie them into it, and then that's when they start listening. Because for them, as the sister was saying, you know, the Empress before went to Veil Girl, she was saying, because she don't get the message right, because she think what they're talking about the Shem and all that, it got to do with some of the person. So it's the same concept. Most of the people in the UK that's been studying this African knowledge have it. So until you start showing them like historical facts around them, and they can go and they go talk about Margate and Moorfield Hospital and all of that, that kind of shake them up. Because you see that message the other day that shook them up, because most of them didn't even look at, you know. So we have to give them things that's in their face, and I think, oh, so I think what the brother is saying, we're just going to do it that way going forward, and it's going to start with, you know what I mean, changing situation. I know what they think. I'm around them all the time. I'm telling you, I know exactly what they think. So I know to feed them. But peace and love to brother. I'll just get back to this message, because they're up a billion now. I don't think we're going to leave here today.
What it sounds like is, if anybody's calling themselves other than what their nationality should be, then you know what? Nigga goes for everything. Because you're being ignorant. The person in front of you, if they give you the information, or if they even giving you the keys to open through the door that you can research yourself, I mean, it's not really hard. When you do sit down with somebody who really understands information, it becomes easier. But you have to want to change. Not the fact of me teaching you that you should change. It's the fact of you got to want it. That's just it. You got to want it. I'm not fighting with nobody who want to call anybody anything else, because I know who I am. So, like Cujo always say, I saved myself. I saved myself mentally before.